München are the champions, but what about the race for the Champions League? That is hot to bloody trot as we enter the final day of the German season. What am I talking about? I'll tell ya next. That's right, folks, back once again with another prediction video today. It's all about match number 34, 34 over in the Bundesliga, and we'll get to that in a second. If you know where you've been, smash your subscribe and your subscribe. Football up and rovers, Bundesliga, world football. We got it all here under one Ruski. That's right. It is time to put the cherry on top for our German campaign as the season's about to come to a close. What am I talking about? I'll show you in a second. Big shout out to the members and the Patreons. You know who you are. What we're going to do now, though, is revisit the last round of games, where, of course, Bayern were crowned champions, and kick it off. Oh, they were crowned champions a long time ago. But anyway, what am I talking about? Well, let's get into it right here, right now. Stop jibber-jabbering and jump into the deep end by talking about this, guys. It is the final day of the season. It's just around the corner. But what about the penultimate game of the season? Well, the results should be on the screen right about now. And, of course, as you can see it, Wolfsburg with a 2-2 draw against Hoffenheim. I went with a 2-0 win on that one. RB Leipzig, unfortunately, will not be playing Champions League football next season after a 0-0 draw against Werder Bremen. I went with a 2-1 away win. Meanwhile, Heidenheim with a massive 3-0 win over Werder Union Berlin. I went the other way. Freiburg with a 2-1 win over Holstein Kiel. I went with a draw on that one. Mainz with a 4-1 win over Bochum. I went the other way. Bayern did beat my boys. Borussia Mönchengladbach 2-0. I went with a 3-0 win. Dortmund did beat Leverkusen 4-2, and have got a chance to get into the Champions League themselves. Frankie and St. Pauli with a 2-2 draw, and Stuttgart with a 4-0 win over Augsburg. Wow. So that's, of course, the state of play over there. What about the state of play over here? And that's the league table. Well, it looks a little bit like this, guys, as you see it. Just one game left. Bayern will be top. Leverkusen will be second. Frankfurt, Freiburg are in the driving seat at the moment for that Champions League spot, but Dortmund have got a bit of a score to settle as well. I do believe Frankfurt and Freiburg are playing each other. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mainz needs snookers realistically, and my boys Mönchengladbach just let's not even go there. Meanwhile, down the foot of the table, there is a small mathematical chance that Hoffenheim could get sucked into this relegation battle. There's just, what are we looking at here? We are looking about there's a good chunk between those two. So we're talking 6-goal swings. So Heidenheim would need to win 3-0. Hoffenheim would need to lose 3-0. And then we'll have a little conundrum down the foot of the table. Meanwhile, it is confirmed Bochum and Holstein Kiel will be playing Zweite Bundesliga football next season. So will Heidenheim survive? Will Hoffenheim do it? It does look like it's nailed on for Heidenheim. But that's, of course, something that we got to talk about. So you can see over on this Super Brewski, we have a winner, or do we? I think it's very, very tight. Still change, but I'm probably going to call it right here, right now. Noah is the champion of the Bundesliga, unless he shits the bed of the final couple of games here, or final game, should we say. Ultra Omega in second spot with 257. So mathematically, he can be caught, but realistically, I will check back, and if there's anything crazy going on, we will reverse the decision. But right now, Noah looks destined to become champion of the Bundesliga. But let's get into it then, shall we? The next round of games in the right around the corner. I'm going to start with, what are we starting with? We're starting a trip to Mainz, that's right, as they take on Leverkusen, former champions now, of course, in the back seat. Of course, we'll have to swallow their pride a little bit. But they're coming into this Mainz under Bo Henriksen. They are, of course, finishing in 6th right now with 51 points for the campaign. Just one win the last 6 for Mainz up against the Leverkusen side, coming into this in a second spot with 68 points and just one win the last 5. It is, of course, the end of a Xabi Alonso era for Leverkusen. He is going to part ways and possibly, if not already confirmed, going to go to Real Madrid. Now, they played 38 times since 2004, 12 wins for Mainz, 21 wins for Leverkusen. There's been 5 draws between the two sides. Now, the last time they played over at the Miwa Arena, it was a 3-0 win for Leverkusen back in September 2023. The reverse fixture, a 1-0 win for Bayer Leverkusen back in January in the Bay Arena. Mainz on the back of that 4 win over Bochum. Leverkusen losing to Dortmund, goodness gracious me, and they haven't won in a couple of games. I've got no odds on this one, so it's going to be my gut take on this one. My gut takes says a win for Leverkusen here, despite a bit of a damp squib of an ending for Xabi Alonso. Let's get into the next one, which is RB Leipzig. They're going to be taking on, of course, Stuttgart. And also kick off at the same day on the 17th of May. That's right, they played 14 times in 2017. 9 wins Leipzig, 3 wins Stuttgart, 2 draws between the two sides. Leipzig coming into this under Zossler. Will he be there next season? I don't think so. There's also rumours of Cesc Fabregas taking over at Leipzig. They've unbeaten, or they're unbeaten. They're winless in the last 4 matches. They're on 51 points for the campaign. Up against the Stuttgart side under Sebastian Hoeneß, who are in 9th right now with 47 points, coming into this on back-to-back wins. Now, they have played 14 times. since 2017, 9 wins Leipzig, 3 wins Stuttgart. The last time they played over at this very venue, it was a 5-1 win for Leipzig back in August 2023. The reverse fixture this season was a 2-1 win for Stuttgart back in January 2025. They also played in the semi-final of the DFB Pokal. That was back in April, and Stuttgart came on top with a 3-1 win. In fact, the last 5 matches between these two sides have ended up with the home side coming out top with a victory. Not a draw, but a victory. Leipzig on the back of that 0-0 draw against Bremen. Stuttgart on the back of a 4-0 win over Augsburg to make it back-to-back clean sheets, and they're looking good right here, right now. Of course, Stuttgart will be taking on second division. It's a second division, or maybe in third division. Arminia Bielefeld for a shot at glory on this one. Got no odds on this one, but I do think it's going to be a tight one. I'm going to go with Leipzig to end the season strong, but ultimately not the greatest campaign for them this season. Let's go to the next one. It will be Hoffenheim up against the champions, the newly crowned champions. Once again, it is Bayern. Of course, Harry Kane is elated, bit of silverware, and of course, the final time we will see Muller in a jersey. That's right. The Prizo Arena, or has he already been seen in the last time? Will the last game be the last one? Anyway, the Prizo Arena, Hoffenheim under Christian Ilzner in 15th right now, 32 points for the season. They've of course still got that chance to get stuck into that relegation spot against a Bayern side who could put 6 goals themselves past Hoffenheim. Anyway, they're winless in the last 4 at Hoffenheim. Bayern on the back of a three wins in the last 4, unbeaten in at least the last 6, and they have played Hoffenheim 35 times since 2008. 23 wins for Bayern, 5 wins Hoffenheim. There's been 7 draws, of course. Last time around over at Hoffenheim was a 4-2 win for Hoffenheim. That was back in May 2024. Earlier in the campaign, they were Bayern to put 5 past Hoffenheim back in January 2025. Bayern on the back of that 2-0 win over Mönchengladbach, of course. Hoffenheim on the back of that 2-2 draw against Wolfsburg. In fact, they got back-to-back draws. They've scored 6 goals and conceded 6 goals in the last 2 games. Have Hoffenheim. The bookies are odds for this one. I ain't got any, but I'm going to go with a 2-0 win. So Heidenheim need to score 4 and beat Werder Bremen if they're going to have any chance to get out of the division. Let's go to Freiburg then up against Frankie. Of course, this one has got a bit extra spice to it. 4th place Freiburg up against 3rd place Francarino. That's right. Freiburg could finish 3rd here at the Europa Park Stadion under Julian Schuster. They are 55 points for the campaign. They're unbeaten in the last 5 up against Frankfurt. Just 1 defeat in the last 6 themselves. They're on 58% form. Now, they played 46 times since 1993. 15 wins Freiburg, 19 wins Frankie. There's been 12 draws between the two sides. Coming into this, they last played at this very venue. It was a 3-3 thriller way back in February 2024. The reverse fixture this season at the Frankfurt. It was a 4-1 win for Frankfurt in a banger back in January 2025. There always seems to be goals in this game. What we look at, 6, 10, 11 goals in the last 2. So maybe more goals coming. Freiburg on the back of that 2-1 win over Holstein, Kiel. Frankfurt on the back of back-to-back draws here. Got no odds. It's a tight one. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw, which doesn't really boost any old chances. And it might actually cost one of these guys a spot in the Champions League. We'll see. Let's go to the next one. It is Heidenheim. It is Werder Bremen. And, of course, it looks like Heidenheim must pull out the stops here to get over the line. Coming out of the Volta Arena, Heidenheim under Frank Schmidt. They are 16th right now, 29 points for the season. They are winless. Actually, they're unbeaten in the last 3. Up against the Bremen side, Oliverna, they are 8th, 48 points for the campaign. They're unbeaten in the last 6, but they've drawn 3 on the spin. They played 9 times, these two clubs, since 2011. 4 wins Heidenheim, 2 wins Werder Bremen, and there's been 3 draws. Now, last time around at this venue, it was a 6-goal thriller, 4-2 it was for Heidenheim. We need something like that if they're going to get any hope in sticking around in the division. And, of course, the reverse fixture, also 6 goals, and it was a 3-3 thriller way back in January 2025. So the goals in this game, 6, 12, 15 goals in the last 3. It's averaging 5 goals a game. You do the math. Heidenheim on the back of that 3-0 win over Union Berlin. Back-to-back clean sheets. In fact, 3 clean sheets on the spin for Heidenheim. Coming into this, though, Bremen on the back of their 0-0 draw against Leipzig. Got no odds on this one either, so a win is paramount here for Heidenheim. They need to get the result. Going to go with the 2-1 win. Will that be enough? Get your calculators out. I think we need snookers to see them get the result. Let's go to my boys here. Mönchengladbach up against Wolfsburg. It's coming at you at the Borussia Park. Gerardo Serione's team have kind of gone off the boil here. They're down to 10th right now, 45 points for the season. They haven't won in at least the last 6. They're taking on a side also pretty grim right now. Winless in the last 9 is Wolfsburg, currently under the stewardship of Daniel Bauer. They played 51 times since 1997, 17 wins for Gladbach, 23 wins for Wolfsburg, 11 draws, of course. Just 5 points separate these two sides and 2 spots in the table. Last time around over at the Borussia Park, it was a 4-0 win for Gladbach back in November 2023. The reverse fixture this season at Wolfsburg, 5-1 win it was for Wolfsburg back in January. Wolfsburg at the back of that 2-2 draw against Hoffenheim. Gladbach did lose to Bayern last time around. They have a 4-4 on their record as well. That was the last home match. No bookies odds again here. We're going to go with a 2-0 win. Back my boys here to see if they can come out with a win to wrap up the season. Next go to, where are we going now? We're going to go to Augsburg up against Union Berlin. Augsburg, bit of a mid-table obscurity for them, and they're in 11th. Up against Union Berlin side, who are back to their best and back to their frustrating best as well. Coming out to the WWK Arena, Augsburg are Jesse Torup. They are 11th, 43 points for the season. They've lost 3 on the spin, and they've only won once in the last 6. Up against the Union Berlin side under Stefan Baumgart. They are 13th right now, 37 points for the season, winners in the last 5, but they are also just 1 defeat in the last 6. Look at it whichever way you like. Played 17 times since 2009. 7 wins at Augsburg, 3 wins Berlin. There's been 7 draws between 2 sides. Last time around, over at Augsburg, it was a 2-0 win for the hosts back in April 2024. The reverse fixture this season, a 2-0 win for Augsburg at Berlin back in January. Now, Berlin on the back of that 3-0 loss to Heidenheim most recently. Augsburg on the back of that 4-0 loss themselves against Stuttgart. In fact, they've conceded 9 goals in the last 3 games. That's averaging 3 goals in the back of the bins there. No odds for this. Going to go with a 1-1 draw. It does sound like a 1-1 draw. A bit of an anticlimactic game here to wrap up the campaign. St. Pauli up against Bochum. They will be back next season. St. Pauli avoiding any relegation fears up against the Bochum side, who will be playing Zweite Bundesliga football next season. Coming out to the Militärstadion, Alexander Blesin's boys are 14th right now, 32 points for the season. Just 1 win in the last 6, or 1 defeat in the last 6. Up against the Bochum side, who are winless in the last 6, and they are 18th with 22 points for the campaign. They played 29 times, these 2 clubs, since 1993. 10 wins Pauli, 7 wins Bochum. There's been 12 draws between the 2 sides. Last time around at this very venue was a 3-2 win for Bochum at St. Pauli back in January 2021. Zweite Bundesliga it was. The reverse fixture this season, a 1-0 win for Bochum at Bochum back in January. They're coming into this one, St. Pauli on the back of that 2-2 draw away to Frankfurt. Bochum on the back of that 4-1 loss to Mainz, which sealed pretty much their hope for the season. Gone like a, I don't know, tank in the ocean, whatever that means. No odds again. Going to go with a gut. Gut says 1-0 win. St. Pauli. And then finally, Dortmund have it all to do. Win this game. And of course, they could be playing Champions League football. Of course, coming to the Signal Iduna Park. They are 5th at the table, 54 points for the season. Of course, Niko Kovac done a wondrous job in the last few games. Won 5 on the spin up against the Holstein Kiel side, who did put up a bit of a fight. They're down to 17th right now, 25 points for the season, just 1 defeat in the last 4. They played Dortmund 4 times since 2006. 3 wins Dortmund, 1 win Holstein Kiel. No draws between the 2 sides. Last time around at this very venue, it was a 5-0 win for Dortmund back in May 2021, the semi-final of the DFB Pokal. They've yet to play these guys at this venue in the league. Now, they did play this season at Holstein Kiel. It was a 4-2 win for Holstein Kiel back in January 2025. Goodness gracious me. Holstein Kiel, though, on the back of that 2-1 loss to Freiburg. That, of course, pretty much seemed their fate as well. Dortmund scoring, 11 goals, 11, we're going to go more, 14 goals more than that. More than 17 goals in the last 5 games. That's over, what is that, over 3 goals a game. So looking pretty good for them at the moment. The season's just a little bit too short for them right now. No odds as well. Going to go with the Dortmund victory, the 3-0. And what does that do? What does that do to the calculators here? Well, I'll show you. It does this. It puts Bayern top. It puts Leverkusen second and Frankfurt in third. Dortmund squeak into the Champions League at the expense of Freiburg, and Leipzig will be playing Conference League football next season. Going down, Bochum and Holstein Kiel. Heidenheim will, look at that, it's just 3 goals. It is tight, and considering Hoffenheim do play Bayern, there is a hope. I didn't really put too much thought into that. I just went with my gut. A victory for Heidenheim and a defeat for Hoffenheim. If a bigger victory for Heidenheim and a bigger defeat for Hoffenheim, those 2 Heims could be switched places at the end of the campaign. But it doesn't mean they're down and out. It means they're going to the playoff and it could be playing Bundesliga football next season. You guys have been amazing. This has been the Bundesliga. Of course, that must have been my last coverage of it for this season. Hope to be back next season. I've got to do a lot of thinking and digressing about the German season and where we go, because it is a tough old thing. I do appreciate any comments you want to dump down there, and also smash the likes as well. Get the likes up there to make me think that you guys want me to keep on doing the German content. But anyway, till then, subscribe. Catch you later. We're done.